All right, everyone. So I want to talk to you guys about Scottish history and really a parallel between Scottish history and what is happening between the Israelis and the Palestinians. And what got me to do this video, guys, what got me to do this video is the phenomenon of Scottish Zionists. Yes, they do exist. You have Scottish Zionists, although I think they are a minority, but they do exist. You have Scottish people who are pro-Israel, and they sort of despise the Palestinians. And they will say things like, well, you know, the Palestinians, yes, they're being slaughtered by the tens of thousands, but it doesn't really matter because they really asked for it, so who really cares? I mean, they supported terrorism. They supported the October the 7th attack on Israel. They supported Hamas. They're bloodthirsty, they're barbaric, they're backwards, or to reference Conor McGregor, backward cunts, all of them. Okay, and so the Palestinians are barbaric to these people's eyes. Who really cares about the Palestinians? The Israelis, damn it, they are a beacon of civilization, so we have to support the Israelis. But here is the thing. Here is the thing that I find so ironic about these people. They're very, very proud of their Scottish history, but they are also very, very pro-Israel and very anti-Palestinian. And so the question that I have is, how do you reconcile those two? Because you can actually find parallels between the situation with the Palestinians and medieval Scottish history. You can actually find a parallel. It's quite fascinating. And I made this observation not too long ago after getting into a conversation / debate with a Scottish person who is very pro-Israel. And this person was telling me, oh, well, I don't really understand why so many Scottish people sympathize with the Palestinians. And so I posed a question to this person. I said, okay, you're very proud of your Scottish history. Yes? Okay. You're very proud about the fact that William Wallace defied the English and the Scottish defied the English and they fought against the English. Yes, okay, you're very proud of this history. But here is the thing. If you look at the prelude to the Scottish War for Independence, you will read that the Scottish invaded England. They invaded England. They invaded the English city of Carlisle. And they also did their own October the 7th attack. Yes, the Scottish did atrocities. I know we've all seen Braveheart, right? We've all seen Braveheart, and it's a masterpiece of a film. Do not get me wrong; it is my favorite movie. I believe Braveheart is the greatest film ever made. I will die on this hill. It is a true cinematic masterpiece. Mel Gibson is indeed an artist, but we've all seen the film Braveheart, and we all got this romanticized view of the Scottish War for Independence. The Scots fought against the tyranny of the English, and the movie, for the most part, is one-sided. Yes, the English did atrocities. The Scottish also did atrocities, and so we all got the romanticized view. But here's the thing is Scottish people, they love that movie because it really, really, it's this romantic view of their history, and it really takes that part of Scottish history and it beautifies it to the highest degree ever. So they're very proud of their history. And most Scottish people, they sympathize with the Palestinians because they familiarize themselves, they familiarize their history with that of the Palestinians. The Palestinians are suffering under occupation. Our people have suffered under English occupation. So they're like the Irish in this regard. The Irish do the same thing. The Irish really, really are pro-Palestine because they familiarize their very sad and depressing history with the plight of the Palestinians. The Palestinians were being genocided. Our people were genocided in the so-called potato famine. It wasn't entirely a famine. It was also a genocide. And so they familiarized that very dark part of their history with the plight of the Palestinians. The Scottish do pretty much the same thing. But to the Scottish people who are very pro-Israel, the question that I pose to you people is, how do you reconcile your pride in your history with your pro-Israel sentiment? Now let's go back to Scottish history. So the Scottish invaded England. They invaded the English city of Carlisle. And they did their own October the 7th atrocities. Yes, and I want to read to you guys the Wikipedia an excerpt from the Wikipedia article on the English invasion of Scotland in 1296. So it says here, upon the discovery of the alliance of Scotland with France, Edward I, Edward the Longshanks, ordered an English army to muster in Newcastle upon Tyne in March of 1296. So Longshanks finds out that the Scottish made an alliance with his enemy France. And so he said, okay, that is an act of aggression against me. I will not tolerate it. So he orders for the preparation of an English army. And it says here that Edward I also demanded the Scottish border castles of Roxburgh, Jedburgh, and Berwick be handed over to English forces. So he said those castles on the Scottish side of the border with England belong to me. They belong to England. And so he was giving off all of the signs that he was being aggressive towards the Scottish. And so what did the Scottish do? They decided to invade England. And it says here that a Scottish army led by John Comyn, Earl of Buchan, invaded England on March 26, 1296, and attacked Carlisle. The governor of Carlisle Castle, Robert de Bruce, Earl of Carwick, withheld the siege for 4 days. The Scottish army withdrew after setting fire to the town, as they had no siege engines. So they set fire to the town. That sounds like terrorism to me. That sounds like terrorism. So you have these Scottish people who are very pro-Israel, very anti-Palestinian. They have zero sympathy, zero pity for the Palestinians, even while they're being slaughtered by the thousands, even while they're being slaughtered as they're trying to get food at these aid distribution centers. They're being slaughtered by these IDF soldiers. And they don't give a damn. They're like, nope. Proud Scotsman here, I love my history. I can't. The Scottish accent is difficult, so forgive me if I don't really get it right, but it is kind of difficult to do. I would say out of all the English dialects out there, it is the most difficult one to really hammer down, but it's, you have these Scottish people who are like, proud Scotsman, I'm a proud Scotsman, I love my history, William Wallace and Robert the Bruce and blah, blah, blah. Oh, Palestinians, F those people. Well, they're being slaughtered by the tens of thousands. F them. Well, they're being slaughtered as they're trying to get food. F them. F them cunts, F them Palestinian cunts. I'm for the Israelis. Okay, but at the same time, you're very proud of your history, and you do know that your people did terrorism, just like the Palestinians have done terrorism. I'm not justifying terrorism here, but if you're gonna be really proud of Scottish history while at the same time hating on the Palestinians for doing terrorism, I'm sorry, you shouldn't be very proud of your history, because your people did terrorism. And guess what happened? Okay, I'm gonna read some more. I keep sidetracking here. I don't want to go off into different. It's all part of the same theme, but I want to stick to this one story before I go off and tread upon a different trail of discussion. So it says here that the Scottish had also burnt the town of Tyndale. This is terrorism. That sounds like terrorism. Burning a town? Imagine if Palestinians crossed the border into Israel and they set fire to a town, an Israeli town, and the Israelis said, okay, we're going to bomb you. And people come out and say, well, wait a second, those Palestinian people, they're fighting against Israeli aggression. The Israelis are controlling Gaza. They're occupying Gaza, they're occupying Gaza, and they're tired of being occupied. So this is a situation wherein you have the occupied fighting against the occupier, just like you had Irish people fight against English occupation. That's just like you had Scottish people fight against English occupation. And then what's going to happen? All the Zionists are going to come out, the Scottish Zionists are going to come out and say, nope, that's terrorism. But the Scottish did terrorism. So how do you reconcile your pride in your history and your pro-Israel sentiment? And look at what it says here. There's more. I'm not justifying these actions, but these Scottish people really did an October the 7th attack on England. Look at what it says here. Another Scottish army committed many atrocities during raids into Northumberland from April 8th, burning the town of Corbridge, 2 monasteries. They attacked monasteries and laying siege to take Harbottle Castle. This is absolute terrorism. This is terrorism. Attacking monasteries, burning a town, burning the town of Corbridge, straight up Scottish terrorism. So you have these Scottish Zionists who are like, Oh, I love me Israel. Oh, I can't do the accent. Forgive me, guys. I love me some Israel. I love Israel, guys. Oh, yeah, them Palestinian cunts. F them cunts. Backwards cunts to reference Conor McGregor. But in your own history, there's terrorism. Now, the thing is that Scottish people, like pretty much everyone else, hold to a romanticized view of their history. And who can blame them? I mean, after watching the film Braveheart, damn it, I'm like, consider me freaking Scottish. That's a beautiful movie. Greatest film ever made. Now, believe it or not, I got a little bit of Scottish in me, just like the majority of Americans do. So I was watching that movie and I'm thinking, man, them Scottish people have an epic history. Look at that. And you want that movie to be true. Now, are there things in Braveheart that are accurate? Absolutely. It is true that Edward the Longshanks' son was a homosexual. It is true that it is true that the English government killed Longshanks' son's boyfriend, although he wasn't thrown out of a window, but he was killed. It is true that Edward the Longshanks' son was a very, very weak leader. I think he is considered the worst king in all of English history. It is true that atrocities were done to the Scottish. Absolutely. It is true that William Wallace was a major leader in the Scottish conflict, in the Scottish struggle for independence. It is true that Robert de Bruce led the Scottish into battle later on. All these things are true. But nonetheless, it is a very romanticized view, a very romanticized perspective on that history. And the Scottish people, all of them, Zionists and anti-Zionists alike, want that view to be true. They love this history. And they're very proud of it, right? And who can blame them? But the thing is, the question that I have for you Scottish Zionists out there is, how do you reconcile your pride in your history with your pro-Israel position? Now, you're going to say, okay, those Scottish people did terrorism, yes, but William the Longshanks did atrocities against the Scottish as a response. Yes, and we're going to get into that. So here's the thing. Here's what happened. Let's read some more in the Wikipedia article. So it says here that the English army crossed the Tweed River on March 28, 1296, and proceeded to the priory of Coldstream, staying there overnight. The English army then marched toward the town of Berwick. So Berwick was the most wealthy town of Scotland in this time. And it says here that this was Scotland's most important trading port at that time. Berwick's garrison was commanded by William the Hardy. I love medieval names. William the Hardy. I just love them. I wish we could have names like these, like this these days. William the Hardy. So William the Hardy, the Lord of Douglas, and he led this garrison. And it says here, while the English army was led by Robert de Clifford, 1st Baron de Clifford, the English succeeded in entering the town and began to sack Berwick, with contemporary accounts of the number of townspeople slain range from between 4,000 and 17,000. I've also read that around 10,000 civilians were butchered by Longshanks' army. Now, whether it's 4,000, 10,000, or 17,000, or anywhere in between, that's a hell of a lot of people, right? If it's 4,000 people, that's a hell of a lot of people, especially in the standards of medieval times. I mean, that is a ton of people to be butchered, and it really today would be a ton of people as well, but especially in medieval standards. I mean, this was an absolute atrocity, right? Longshanks went in there. He butchered thousands of people. Let's just say 10,000 people. He butchered 10,000 people. That is a ton of people, and that is absolutely an atrocity. And Scottish people, Zionists and anti-Zionists alike, will look at this and say, oh, yes, that cunt Longshanks, oh, he was badass. He butchered our people. I'm doing the Irish accent. I'm sorry, I can't do the Scottish accent. He butchered our people. He's so terrible. Yes, you're right. That was a terrible thing. But I can take the Hospira argument, the Hospira's pro-Israel logic, and apply it to this and say, Longshanks was right. And all of you pro-Israel Scottish people out there need to start changing your position on Scottish history. Because you're very pro-Israel, because, as you say, well, the Palestinians attacked. They did October the 7th. October the 7th was an atrocity. Absolutely agreed. Yes, absolutely. So Israel is right, and yes, Israel is slaughtering people by the thousands, but that is war, right? This is the logic that they always present. That is war. It's war, damn it. Who cares? Those Palestinians are pro-terrorism anyway, so they asked for it. But then you look at your own history, and what do you find? The Scottish attacking the English city, invading the English city of Carlisle, the Scottish burning down the town of Tyndale, setting fire to the town of Carlisle, attacking 2 monasteries, and also doing atrocities during raids into Northumberland, slaughtering civilians. So the Scottish did terrorism. So by your logic, just as in your logic, in your perspective, it is justified for Israel to do atrocities in Gaza, then it was also justified for Longshanks to also do atrocities. Therefore, you need to change your view on your own history. According to your logic, Longshanks was right. Longshanks was the good guy. And the film Braveheart is a bunch of bollocks, as you like to say in Great Britain, because Longshanks was the good guy, William Wallace was the terrorist, the Scottish were the terrorists, and England was simply responding to terrorism. Yes, and you could say, well, no, because Longshanks provoked them. You see, as you see in the Wikipedia article, Edward the Longshanks said that these Scottish castles belong to England. Okay, fine, fair enough, right? Edward the Longshanks said those things. That's true, but he did that as a response to the Scottish making an alliance with his enemy France. So maybe one can make the argument that Scotland provoked Edward the Longshanks to demand those castles. And the other thing also is Israel has also done its fair share of provocation. Let me remind you that this is not the first slaughter of the Palestinians that the Israelis have done. The Israelis have done numerous slaughters of the Palestinians, and you can go back to 2008 and 2009 in the War of Cast Lead. They call it they call it a war. It's more of a slaughter, but they call it Operation Cast Lead. Took place from 2008 to 2009. And how did that slaughter begin? How did that conflict begin? Well, there was a ceasefire between the Israelis and the Palestinians, and guess what? Israel did a raid into Gaza, and they killed about 5 members of Hamas. Broke the ceasefire. Even people who are pro-Israel agree that, yeah, Israel broke the ceasefire. Broke the ceasefire, and then the Palestinians, the Gazans, fired rockets into Israel as a response, and the Israelis said, oh my God, terrorism! And they did an invasion of Gaza, did a ginormous massacre, killed over 1,000 people, mainly civilians. And also I want to say that the Israelis in that operation actually hit the Palestinians with white phosphorus. Do you know what white phosphorus does to you? It literally burns you alive. They were hitting people with white phosphorus. And there was an interview that was done with an anonymous Israeli soldier who said, yes, we hit the Palestinians with white phosphorus. And he was asked, well, why do you do that? And do you know what this Israeli soldier said? He said, because it's fun, because it's cool to burn people alive. This is, oh man, this is like Spec Ops The Line tier horror here. Burning people alive for fun. And this happened in 2008 and 2009. 2008 and 2009. And there were numerous atrocities that were done in that Operation Cast Lead. And guess what happened? In the prelude to that slaughter, the Israelis provoked the Palestinians and then proceeded to do a massacre of the Palestinians when they fought back. So one can make the parallel with what happened in medieval Scotland, medieval England also. Longshanks said, okay, Longshanks gave all the signs that he wanted to rule Scotland. He said, okay, I want to, he, for example, if you look into the history, you'll see that Edward the Longshanks wanted to dictate who would become King of Scotland. He wanted to control who would be elected as King of Scotland. He gave all the signs that he wanted to control Scotland. He also, like I've said, demanded the castles that were on the Scottish side of the border with England. He showed all the signs of a desire to control and occupy Scotland. And so the Scottish, they did this invasion of England. Now the Scottish could make the argument and say, well, we were provoked. But the English could make the argument and say, well, no, because you asked for the assistance of Longshanks to elect the King of Scotland. And so Edward the Longshanks was simply trying to help you in that regard. And also, you Scottish people did atrocities in England. So, yes, maybe it was wrong for Longshanks to demand for those castles, but you guys did atrocities. Just like the Palestinians did atrocities. And did Longshanks' actions justify Scottish fighters doing atrocities in raids into Northumberland? Did it justify them burning down the town of Tyndale? Did it justify them invading England? And the Scottish could say, well, did those actions justify Longshanks' slaughter of the city of Carlisle? Thousands upon thousands of Scottish civilians slaughtered? Well, no, it didn't. Just like October the 7th doesn't justify all of the war crimes that Israel has done. But here is the thing. Here is the problem with people, is they will point to a wrongdoing done by a group of people, and they will use that to justify any act of evil. Any act. And they will say, well, we're doing this act of evil because this side did this act of evil. So the Scottish invaded England. That justifies Longshanks slaughtering 10,000 civilians in Berwick. The Palestinians did this evil on October the 7th. So that justifies Israel slaughtering people in Gaza. The fact is that evil should never be justified. But as long as people are going to justify evil, they will continue to do evil. They will continue to do evil. But going back to this whole Scottish Zionism thing, yeah, how do you Scottish Zionists reconcile your pride in your Scottish history and your pro-Israel sentiment? It looks like you're going to have to change your whole perspective on your own history. I know, right? We all have this romantic view of Scottish history. We all got this from Braveheart, right? The green, luscious hills of Scotland, the bagpipes, the misty air of the land. Oh, yes, the castles and the kilts and the music and the beautiful, beautiful harmony of Celtic sounds and all that, all those beautiful aesthetics, all those beautiful Celtic aesthetics that we love so much. Well, you're going to have to throw all that out the window and just say, you know what, Longshanks was the good guy. Anyway, those are my thoughts on that. You guys just heard some theology. God bless.